name is Marcia Jews. Welcome to STEM City USA's coverage of the Women of Color STEM Conference. Through all 3 days, we will be bringing you incredible interviews with inspiring STEM pioneers leading the way in industry, government, academia, and around the world. And now, please welcome our next guest.
Hello, my name is Ronesha Willis, and I'm an HR business partner for RHI Magna Zeta. Something interesting about myself is I love all water sports. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Ronesha.
Well, hello. How are you?
I'm great. Still standing.
That's right.
I love it. So, congratulations on your award.
Thank you so much. It's exciting. This is my first time here, and it's just been so much of a blessing to be here. So, thank you.
So, were you surprised?
I was. So, like I said, this is my first time, so I was just literally happy to be in the room. But to be even recognized for, the hard work and all of the effort was just very validating.
So I see here that you love to travel, read, and dance.
I do. All together at the same time. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's just about living, I think, sometimes we can kind of, have a focused mindset. So to get out, see different cultures, enjoy yourself has been more of a priority for me these days.
But I think it's really huge because too often we get caught up in that whole business rat race.
Yeah.
And we lose sight of what's important.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Home, work-life balance. How do you do that?
Oh gosh, I think it's something I think about every day. I have 2 young girls, and I also have career aspirations. And at any given day, one of those will take priority, and I have to give myself grace to let the other one just wait until I get around to it. So, having a supportive husband and family, my church family, and of course, all of my coworkers and mentors understand that, when I'm checked out, there's a reason for it. And when I'm checked in, there's a reason for it. So, yeah.
That's huge. And it's huge because too often we're so busy being busy.
Yeah.
Be it busy at work, be it busy in your community organizations. We're just being busy.
And so at some point, we've got to set those priorities for ourselves.
Yeah.
And too often, we're not doing that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
How do you relax? How do you find that peace?
Yeah, I think so. I start to recognize when I'm feeling overwhelmed. And so I think the first step is to recognize what that is. It's easy to just keep going. Women in particular, we are experts at powering through. Like, oh, I'm tired. I have a headache. I really don't feel like it. I'm not feeling my best today, but I still have to do this.
Right.
And sometimes, I've gotten really good at just saying no. I've gotten good at rearranging my schedule, of blocking my time off, of actually disconnecting when I'm on vacation. So it takes some maturity to get to that point and to be confident to, tell people, no, I'm not working, Friday at 6:00 p.m. But when you get there, it becomes addicting. And so
it does.
Yeah.
And
it
we
really
lose sight of what the original mission was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So how do you stay on course?
I think it's really just having your priorities in check. I realize now that, my girls are not going to care about how well I executed a project at work. They're just not going to care about that.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, at the end of my life, I'm not going to care about that. I'm going to care about the time I spent with my family, about the values I instilled on them, about the impact to my community. And so when I kind of start with the end in mind, priorities fall in check. It's good to work, it's good to contribute, but I don't live to work. I work to live.
Say that one more time so the people in the back can hear that.
I don't live to work.
Yes.
I work so that I can live.
Yes. And too often we get caught in what other people want us to do opposed to what I've learned how to say, no, I can't. Call me back next week.
That's right.
We'll see. We'll revisit this discussion.
Sure. Yeah.
So when looking in your career path, let's talk about the Department of Agriculture. No, let's talk
Mhm.
about your life in York, Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yeah, so I love York. I was born and raised there. It's a small town in the middle of nowhere. I always have to tell people where I'm from in relation to bigger cities. So I live in York. Oh, that's about 2 hours from Philadelphia, or an hour from Baltimore. But I love it. It gives me that calmness. I don't think I could survive in a large city. So I love York. It's my family is rooted there, but it's close enough where I can get out and do the fun stuff, when I want to. So, yeah, it's all I've known.
But see,
Mhm.
that's what's important,
Yeah,
to really find that time for
yeah,
yourself,
hmm,
because you got to find time for your family
yeah, sure,
and you got to find time for you.
yeah,
And that's that work-life balance is
of
really
course.
something
Yeah.
that's difficult for me.
It is. It's difficult
Hmm.
for anyone, and I think, like I said, to me, it just boils down to communication.
Yeah,
Excuse me. When I tell my family that I'll have to travel for 3 days, they understand that, knowing that they get that time back as well. When I come back, it's all about them.
oh, I
So,
like that.
yeah, it's a
I get
balance.
that time back. They get the
Yeah.
time
Yeah,
back.
and I will say my two daughters know that anytime I travel, I have to bring back something for them. So they're waiting for me to open up the suitcase and, see what stuffed animal, or,
Right,
just
right.
so that they know I was thinking of them, something that they can, anticipate or get
I
excited
love it.
about. So that's our deal. Anytime I, travel for work, they'll be part of that trip.
And
So
that's wonderful. You have to do it.
yeah, yeah, it's the
But my
small
daughter's
things.
really old now, but
Okay.
she still
Yeah.
has the need for
Of
me to do
course.
stuff.
Yeah, people want to know that they're thought about. They want to know that, while we're out doing other things, which I think generally they understand, that we're still, that they're still in our thought
That's
process.
right.
And
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
That's right. So let's talk about your career with the Department of Agriculture and Forest Services, the USDA Forest Service. And you deal with trees?
No, actually, so I've spent my career mostly in manufacturing. So I started as a recruiter, really just finding good talent, traveling. I lived out of a suitcase for about a year and a half. From there, I took a progressive role as an HR generalist. And so that's what got me hooked in HR. I love being able to implement things that make people's lives better at work. And so from there, it's just been progressive roles from HR generalist, still within the manufacturing world. For some reason, I haven't broken out of the manufacturing sector. So, if I don't hear forklifts behind me, or, equipment running, it doesn't feel like work for whatever reason. But so, throughout different manufacturing sectors, I've learned how to speak the language. I've learned what, that particular audience needs to hear, whether it's an hourly person operating a machine, whether it's an executive who has to figure out how to, manage costs, how to attract talent, maintain customers. So that's been my work. I'm kind of a conduit, right, between,
Ah,
employees and leadership. So I can
mhm.
speak the language that leadership needs to hear, and I can speak the language that employees need to hear. So I've gotten really good at translating the feel of the employee to leadership, and advocating for things that we need to see, as well as reminding leadership that people are the ones who run the business. So,
And that's huge because sometimes people forget that they're human beings.
yeah.
There's a DNA in
Mhm.
that human being,
Absolutely. There's someone
right?
with a family and goals and, needs. They
Hmm.
need to be heard. They want to connect to the bigger picture. And sometimes it can get lost. It's easy to run a business and just think of total head count. Well, those heads have families. So I've been lucky enough in my current role to have a leadership team that values that, they see that. And so it's just a really good partnership where I'm
That's
at.
wonderful.
Yeah.
I see that you went to in my neck of the woods.
Okay.
You were in Maryland
Yeah.
and at Morgan and Morgan State University.
Yeah, so I actually went to college in Lock Haven, which is up north, but I did take some courses and some schooling in Maryland.
Okay, and
Um,
Hopkins.
yeah,
I
so
love it.
yeah. So yeah, most of my time was spent in the Poconos, and
Oh,
for whatever reason, I know.
Poconos.
because that's where Lock Haven is. So I did my first degree in Lock Haven. So started out there, realized that's just way too cold. That is a different kind of air up there. So yeah, I came down south a little bit further, and York is kind of where I landed. But yeah, spending time in Lock Haven was unique for me in the sense it was my first time being away from school or away from home.
Right.
It was probably about a 3-hour drive. My family didn't have resources to come and get me every weekend or, that type of thing. So it really was my first time exploring, seeing, what it truly meant to be a person of color, out in the world on her own, seeing things that my family had kind of protected me from, growing up. And so I go to school. I'm in a predominantly white, university. I don't have someone to do all the things for me. And so that's where it started. I started to realize that, okay, things can be a little different, for someone who looks like me.
Yeah.
There are things that are, conversations that happen before I get there. And so, that kind of turned me on to, okay, there may be some work. And I didn't know what DEI was, 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
But
You
I,
can't be that old, so
well, yeah, I didn't know what the name of it was, but I knew that something was different. I knew that, when I didn't get the attention that my peers did in college, it started to kind of put a little seed in my ear that, there could be some work here. And so I think honestly, that's what motivated me to be in human resources, to make sure that every voice is heard, and that everybody feels valued.
that's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge because you literally looked at your whole career
hmm
and made a life decision to change.
Right. Absolutely. Because I think about my 2 girls and I don't want them to ever have to wonder how to style their hair, when they go to an interview. I don't want them to feel, do they have to hide their religion? Do they have to dress a certain way? Do they have to talk a certain way?
Right.
And so, my little slice of the pie is to do the work that I can do so that it's just a little bit less prevalent when they get there.
I don't think it's a little slice. I think it's a real big slice. In far too many communities and homes,
Yeah.
we are having to deal with our young people and
Mhm.
ourselves
Mhm.
going to work-life balance and
Mhm.
trying to deal with people who have a different understanding of
Yeah.
what being respectful means,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so we have to endure a lot of those isms
Yeah. Yeah.
that we normally haven't had in our own communities,
Right. Right.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So in looking and going forward,
Mhm.
what do you see as your next move
Oh
in
gosh.
your career?
Oh.
Because you've been rocking, girl.
I think the next move for me is really, I think up until now, my career has been kind of jack of all trades, so to speak. I've done recruiting, I've done talent acquisition, I've done a lot of everything, which has been great. It's given me the experience to kind of play and see where I'm good at. But now I'm starting to realize that I'd like to go a little bit deeper in the employee experience field. And so that means creating the programs that meet employees where they are. And I don't know what title that means. I don't know what that looks like, but I know that I'm really good at seeing people. And I see them because I was there. I come from humble beginnings. I had spent some time in the foster care system. I, had some humble beginnings and things like that. So I know what it means to need support at different phases of life. I had 2 C-sections. One of those, my second daughter spent her first 3 months in the NICU. So, I know what it means to be a mother, an employee, a wife, in different situations. So I see those experiences and I know that when the employer sticks with the employee through those times, oh, it's just a relationship that you can't
It's a
miss.
relief.
Right.
You don't
Right.
have to worry about whether or not you're going to lose this job
Absolutely.
because
Absolutely.
of the fact that I have to deal with my daughter having this or my son having whatever,
Absolutely. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Exactly. So I'm learning to tap into more meaningful work. I'm learning to use my voice a little bit louder. I think, a little for some time I've just been kind of like, hey, I think we should do this. I think this is, the way to go. But now I'm like, here's what we need to do. And here's why. So, just stepping into my own voice, I think that's what the future looks like for me. Yeah.
So you need to get that book out. I'm telling everybody that sits here,
Yeah.
you got to get that book out.
I will say, there have been some amazing guests. I've been watching you. So, I've learned that sweet potatoes have flowers and,
I know. What?
I
was done. I was trying to be calm.
I wanted to go look at a sweet potato like, now how in the world does this happen? Yeah.
Where did the flower come from?
I'm like, there's a regular potato, but I say that to say that there's just amazing insights, and being here at Women of Color Conference is just a blessing to be able to connect with people with those experiences and learn those little nuggets that I definitely would not otherwise have known. So yeah, it's been great.
You are a family member now.
Yes. Yeah.
The expectation is that you will be back here next year.
Absolutely. I would love nothing more than that.
And bring a book when you come.
I'll start working on that. Thank you.
And you think I'm kidding? I'm not kidding. All right, Shanika Lawson, thank you so much and congratulations.
It's been
a
pleasure.
And next year.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Bless you.
Bye.